The thing with burnout is that it doesn't always have to be because of photography or your business. It could just be emotional burnout from everything that's happened with life. I met my partner that I have now, Daniel, and while that was very exciting and oh my gosh, you're teaching me safety, you're teaching me how I've always wanted to be loved, it was very healing, but it was also very scary. And it took some capacity out of me to get out of that burnout. March, that happened. April, I was starting to come back into being healthy physically. And then June, I was completely out of it. It was like, felt like one day I was like awake and I actually felt awake.
Welcome to the podcast with one person that a special guest. I know you since, let's say, maybe 1 year. So it's not that I know you for so long, but since the moment I saw you, I went like, who is she? The daughter of Annie Leibovitz or something like that. it, your picture are straight out of a cinematic world with a little touch of vintage and renaissance, which I can see the painting behind you. Thank you for putting it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mari Trancoso.
Hello, hello.
Did I say right?
Yeah, actually, a lot of people do. Trincos. Everyone thinks I'm Italian because of my last name.
That was my next question. Are you Italian?
No, none.
In the blood? Long time ago?
Not at all. I did that ancestry DNA thing and everything. So everyone thinks I'm Italian because Trancoso sounds very Italian, but it's actually Portuguese or Brazilian. But I'm not Portuguese or Brazilian.
Okay, fine. You are 100% American. Woo!
I'm actually Mexican and Spaniard. So the reason why my last name is Trancoso is because my great grandfather was in an orphanage in Mexico, and when he left the orphanage, he landed in a village called Trancoso, and then he used that as his last name is Trancoso. So that's how we have our last
Wow, that's just the beginning of our conversation. That's amazing. Our ever first conversation.
Right. This is our first ever conversation. Yeah. And so Tricosa is not actually a Mexican last name. It's not common.
I love that. I love that. You can choose your second name and use it. Anyway, you can say you're Italian. You look like also Italian, the way that your longer hair and your beautiful dress. Yeah. Sell it. Sell this way. Yeah, you're Italian. Yeah.
And when I was in Italy, I was with one of my, it was la 2022, April. And I was with one of my American friends, and I don't know if she just looked American. So like when we went to eat, they would give her the English menu and they would give me the Italian menu.
There you go. Like it's all set. You don't have to do anything besides learn some bad word, which I can teach you those things, and start to talk with your hands.
I do that. I do that anyway.
Proud of you already. I'm already proud of you. So you are based in Chicago.
Yeah, so I mostly work in Chicago, but I live about hour and a half outside of Chicago in a really small town in Illinois. So, but I work mostly in Chicago. But
Okay, I do the same. Like I say, I live outside Lake Como, but the people go like, "Oh, you live in Lake Como?" Yeah, I mean it's outside, but it's 15-minute driving, so it's okay. We live there, and I never been in Chicago, so how I want to know everything about you. It's the first time we talk, and I want you to share with me a little bit about your past because I want to understand your present and your photography style. I think photography style comes a lot from especially artists like you, that you embrace it. You're not afraid to share who you are. You go for it 100%, and it must be some interesting story behind.
yeah, my photography story is not that interesting. How I found photography, how I fell in love with it, but my story in coming into my artist essence is the interesting thing. So photography, I'll start with the boring stuff. Uh, so photography, I took classes here and there in like high school, but mostly just to screw around. I didn't actually like I didn't remember anything that we learned. So I did a film class and a digital class, but I was just there for social aspects. So I don't know. I didn't remember even how to work a camera after that. But so I was supposed to become a professional dancer.
Dancer, professional dancer.
Yeah,
What happened?
I got pregnant.
I mean, I would say like, okay. No, that's a good thing. But you feel like that's I mean, you're young.
Yeah, I had my daughter young, so I was supposed to move to LA at 21 years old. And uh, so for like 3 summers, I was going to the LA area to do like auditions and classes
Mhm.
with some of my company, just to kind of get that feeling before we actually moved there. Then my teacher for my company, she just wanted after we graduated high school, she wanted the people who were going to become dancers in LA to stay for a couple years to save money and just kind of mature a little bit. So the summer I was 20 years old, I went to LA, stayed there for a little bit longer of a time just to see kind of where I wanted to move the next year. And then I booked a gig. I went in through the first bit of I got a job for Stiletto Entertainment for Holland Cruise Ships to be a cruise line dancer. So like theater and yeah. Uh but you had to be 21 to sign officially. And by the time I was 21, I had my daughter.
Okay, that's life.
Yeah. So I stayed here. And then she was 3 months old. I wasn't working throughout my pregnancy, and I didn't really want to go back to the job I was working. I was doing shipping and marketing for a clothing boutique locally. And I had three options, and my partner at the time, Nova's dad, was like, "All right, pick one option, try it for a year. If it doesn't work, we'll try another one." So the three options were to become a doula, for like a doula. Do you know what a doula is? Yeah. So yeah, a doula is like kind of like the birthing person who is having a baby. They're advocate, so like they're helping with the partner and how to like soothe the mom, being their voice and all that, whether it's home birth or hospital birth. I love birth. Everything birth is. I was in the room when my sister was born when I was 6. Yeah, yeah. So my mom had my sister when I was 16. So I was in the room, and so like ever since then, I've been in love with everything.
Wow. Wow. I keep on saying wow because I never hear this. It's like that's the beauty of America. There are jobs that I never think that exist.
Yeah, yeah. Because well, you would just think we would have you know, you would have a woman figure or any like nurturing figure to be with the person who's birthing and just to be an advocate because like we don't really, especially for a first baby, you really don't know what you're doing. So I've always wanted to be it just comes naturally to me. I was just at my sister's birth and I was like her birthing partner and it was beautiful. I knew like if I stop photography, so if, like I just or not even stop, but like start slowing down photography when my kids are older, I'd love.
Would you still consider?
Yeah, I photographed her birth, and it was. I hope she lets me post them at some point because they're so. Oh, it was good. It was so good. But so yeah, a doula or doula, yep, or go to school for like Chinese medicine, like herbalism, like Eastern medicine, yeah, preventative medicine, or
Where is coming this third like why photographer?
I. This is where it's like so not at all because I got a $50 camera off Facebook Marketplace and I wanted to be an Instagram mom.
This is this is like if I couldn't believe like if you say to me like this I don't believe you. I couldn't believe you because like you were such a deep inside into your wedding photography photos that like if you say to me I want to be an Instagram mom, I can't believe you.
I never became an Instagram mom. Those dreams did not come naturally to me.
So that's was you purchased this camera because you said like maybe I can do something on Instagram and I'm going to take photos of myself, which you should consider to do anyway because you're so beautiful. By the way, okay, what happened there?
So I learned off Pinterest. I like looked up like exposure charts. Like I was like learning, like I'm a visual learner, so but I don't like videos. I have ADHD, so like watching long videos, I can't sit still and watch it. So I needed charts. So I like exposure charts, white balance charts. So I was like, so then I would like have then I had like a little notepad and like kind of like didn't have my camera, so I was just kind of like looking at the chart on Pinterest, my notes that I was taking as I was taking photos, figuring out, and then just kind of like taking notes from there. Obviously, using my newborn because she wasn't moving much because she's a newborn.
I think newborn are very good practice.
Yeah, very good practice. And we had really beautiful light in our house. And even without being a photographer, I noticed, those type of things that especially, it's really nice that I'm a photographer now because I could put words to the appreciation that I have for those little things. But before then, I just appreciate it. And then,
Okay, picture for me.
yeah, so with photography, you get to actually do something with that. You get to like humanize it or like immortalize it, I guess, mostly, where you show the true essence of what's happening and capture it and show others rather than just like, seeing it and then be like, wow, that's really beautiful. I'm really overwhelmed by this beauty. Okay, what do I do now? um, yeah, so I practiced on Nova.
Nova is her name.
Yeah, it's Nova Madison. She's beautiful and amazing and just so gentle and caring. Yeah, I've definitely first child, they like the perfect child, I think. But
Do you have one child?
two, two. Yep, I have a son. He's 4 years old. His name is Ever.
Wow, busy. We are going to get there. I want to know also for you how you run a successful business with a family. So, but I want to know first how you get from doing this trying into weddings. That's a big shift, and like is the beginning of I feel like a job, like a real job. This is how you make money. This is how you have to run a business.
Absolutely. And so that was in 2015. And then I it was like it was in June, no, May that I got the camera, and by June I was taking on family sessions immediately, full on.
How did you do? How did you find the first couple, the first family, friends?
So we live in a small community, but it's a very tight knit community, and so I was involved with a lot of things. My family's kind of well known in this community. Trancoso, I mean, like that's not a common name.
A Trancoso family.
So like we were like into sports, and like my aunts worked in the hospital, my uncles worked in the prison system. So I was a dancer. I taught dance. So there was so many different communities. So it was really easy, honestly, for me to start getting clients. And yeah, yeah. And obviously, I was charging really cheap at first.
Of course. Like even for free, you can even say free. Like sometimes I have to spend to get to the clients.
I did one session for free, and then my next session was $150.
That's good. Like charge when you don't feel like comfortable with the camera and you still charge even a little bit amount. I think is such a boost of power. Like, who I get my first money taking photos.
Yeah, right. And I I look back at my work, and I guess I'm really lucky to say this, but I don't cringe at my past work. I think I understood light and how to capture what I was feeling pretty quickly. Although it's evolved and gotten better, obviously, but the essence of it, I think I've just romanticized and been obsessed and gazed and all those type of words with life and light and humans for so long, for years, for decades, or 2 decades at the time, that when I finally had something that I could actually learn how to use to to freeze it and show people, then that it came easy for me. Um, so editing and like certain techniques and all that, obviously I had to learn within time, but the base core stuff felt easy for me, especially with families.
Fantastic. So from family after, so family was your base. Okay, getting have a camera in your hands, getting comfortable speaking with the behind the camera, you let them be themselves.
I was doing kind of maybe the thing that everyone does and try to find the photos on Pinterest to to replicate at first. And even that felt weird. I felt like there was no flow. I'm like, I can't just, all right, stop, hurry up and look at it, and then mannequin it felt weird. I've done it, and I've done it if like a family, doesn't feel comfortable, just as a, just something to fall back on. But I knew at early on that like this felt inauthentic.
I know. It comes with time, I think. It's like at the beginning,
You just have to shoot as much as just like I just wanted to get as much practice as I possibly could. I did a lot of creative projects. Like I had like a friend who had a really interesting look. I had a lot of hair and makeup artist friends, and like we did like those creative shoots. So I was lucky in that regard. Yeah, so I had a lot of artist friends, and so I was able to play.
I think you did the right steps in general. Like, it's okay to start with the Pinterest. I did the same to you. And actually, I think I used to print the image too. So I was like, uh, uh. you know?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it breaks the flow, and you don't find that connection. And obviously, that's bad, but you learn the camera. You learn what you don't like. You just have to. It's just trial and error, and you could take all the workshops and courses and all that, but once you're on the field doing the practice, working that muscle, you're not. It's such a hands-on thing. So that was in 2015, and then 2016, I made a lot of friends with wedding photographers, and everyone said, "Oh, like you have to be a different breed." Yeah, you had to be like a different breed for wedding photography. It's a whole different world. I'm like, okay, well, how do I get into it? Luckily, I had the Chicago um, wedding industry is just like really close and supportive.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, so especially at that time, I feel like 'cause that's where like Facebook groups were like its prime, but now it's not really.
Competitive?
No, like it's not competitive. It's just no one really. I think I don't know if just with COVID and everything, just like that community online, especially Facebook groups, aren't that not strong but active.
Okay. Do you think maybe they're better on, Instagram or TikTok and people migrate there? They don't care anymore?
That's like 9 years ago. So the people that I really connected with, like had more babies, they got married. So it just life happened, and I'm sure there's like other small like young communities again, but
But it's good to hear that I feel like in general in US is so much more community compared to how I grew up and where I am now, which is very like no, that's like I had to take all the wedding as possible because they're all mine.
I mean, I guess it depends on the people. Like, I don't, it's not a blanket statement, but for, and I see like a lot of my American friends, like, oh, the wedding community in the industry is so toxic, and I'm so happy I don't have to deal with the drama anymore. But I really never experienced that. I don't know if it's just because the people I chose to be around or me becoming older and all that, but I never really experienced that. I never experienced that to that extent where I felt jaded.
That's wonderful. I think, like, you do your own things, and you don't get distracted about the rumors around you, like all this gossiping around you. Just go be you, do you. People are going to love you. They you work with, and you have a conversation and have fun, and then the rest is like ciao ciao.
Yeah, yeah, it's just definitely, and I've always been that way. I'm very specific in who I want to be around anyway. Otherwise, I just can't. I socially, I have social awkwardness, and I have to be. Yeah, I just only kind of surround myself into people who I really fully feel safe with. And if I don't feel safe, then
But I think that's a wonderful way to protect yourself from trash. I don't know if it's the right word.
and luckily the Chicago community was really welcoming as me as a new photographer in 2015. I Yeah, it was a group called the Speakeasy. So it was this kind of like the Chicago like thing. So I just posted that I was a new photographer. If anyone had any advice, some people said, ask other photographers to shadow weddings before you even second shoot. So I shadowed a couple weddings. I'm like, okay. And then I had a friend who asked me to second shoot, and it felt easy. I'm like, okay, I think I could do this. It's definitely taxing on the body. It's a long day, but I could do this. And so I second shot a few, like half a season. Yeah. And then I was styling my own styled shoots kind of before, like there was no content dates. There was no styled shoot type. Like there was like workshops for like education and stuff, but like there was like no. So I like, it's just me and my local community in my small town, not even Chicago. I'm like, okay, well, I know there's one dress shop right there. I know a hair and makeup artist. I know a wedding planner, that the only one that we have here. So like we all just kind of gathered and did two styled shoots in my first year, and I would post that, and I started booking from that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Can I stop you here 1 second? It is like I hear so many people say, style should like having very negative talking over style shoot. And what I can see, and I did the same things of you. Like I wanted to build the destination weddings, and I want to go back eventually to go to live in Italy, and I create content. So, um, I feel like it's the same things that you did. You need to be focused on what you want. You just did two, and you were very focused on the things that you want. You put together an amazing team, and that's the starting point of your wedding photography journey. I think it's incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. So yeah, and so while a styled shoot, and I think that's where people like warn the whole styled shoot, like make like the negative stuff, where it's like make sure if you're hiring a photographer, ask for a full gallery, not just something from a styled shoot. So that's so important too, because you style shoots, you have everything's at your disposal, everything's under your control. It's not an accurate depiction of a actual wedding day with the unexpected, things happening, the rushed timeline, the personalities. Um, yeah, so that doesn't show that, but my stylist shoots paired with me shadowing and seconding a wedding was starting to build that repertoire of feeling confident in actually taking on a wedding, because a wedding it is such a huge responsibility. It's a lot of money. Even at the beginning, I my first wedding I charged $1,800. So yeah, I would never. Obviously, that's really low end, but like as someone who's barely been a photographer for a year, $1,800 for an 8-hour wedding that I've never done before.
That's a lot. Like if you consider like working in office, like I was working in the office before to be a photographer, and I was making 1,200 euro per 1 month. So it's like,
Right? Yeah, it's like one day. Well, not one day. You have to,
no, but I understand. But that time it was the idea. I photograph one wedding and I make 1,800 dollars just for 1 day of work.
it's insane. Yeah. So that blew my mind. Definitely. Yeah. So And that and my first wedding that I so that was the first wedding I booked, but that wasn't the first wedding I shot because of just like how the wedding, like how the booking and where the day was. So the first wedding I shot, I made sure I'm like, okay, this is my first wedding lead that I shot. So I invested in a really good second shooter, someone who doesn't shoot. So I was like, okay, I want my second shooter to be an actual lead shooter, not for my wedding, but they're so like they've been in the industry. So if there is a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I have that confidence right there.
I think that's such a wonderful tip that are you giving to the people are listening. Like people that are starting, hire second photographer already been or already to other weddings. It's this is pure gold. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I don't like for like education or people who ask me questions or like mentoring, I never really talk about weddings. It's mostly about art theory or art philosophy or storytelling. Never talk about weddings ever. So maybe I need to like shit. But yeah, so then that's sort of how I became. Well, no, there's more steps because I was doing local stuff like in my small town. So I did that for like a year, and then I had a local family who lived in Chicago, and I did their wedding. So that brought on Chicago weddings. And so the next year I had like four Chicago weddings. I was just posting all the time, like, hey, I know I want to be in Chicago here. Completely different markets, price points, because I know if I want to make this lasting, I need keep and I'm already moved out of my town. And so then I was on the Knot what before they merged into Wedding Wire. And that was very helpful until it wasn't. So then I had probably for like 2 years, I was on the Knot, and that gave me a lot of weddings. And then so now I'm just purely a Chicago.
But you travel too, right? Are you traveling just in the USA or are you going international or
I do travel international. I'm just now kind of starting. Like I'm not. I'm. It's so hard for me. Like I'm a destination wedding photographer, but I've done technically like three out of country weddings slash elopements. So I would love to do more. Most of the time that I'm going international is to teach at workshops or my own personal travels. Yeah. So yeah, I would love to do more weddings for international, but I do a lot of things throughout the states. A lot of weddings like in the mountains.
which is like is great because in the States you have everything. Like even travel in the States is tiring.
Yeah, it's a huge country, and each state is basically its own country, and we don't even have a railway system. So,
I want to know which point of your career you were able to define your style. Like now you have a very strong uh, word that is taking me when I see your photo, it's taking me back in the past. But still we are in the present. It's cinematic. It's like I describe this as a painting that you have behind it. The painting that you have behind is such a description of you, and I love it. But I'm sure that this came with the time. When was the time of I need to find my style over than just photography wedding, just a click in the camera?
exactly. So like I said before, it was while it's not where I am now, the core essence has always been there because I've always been a very big feeler, and it's in my body. Like I feel in my body, like I have physical like symptoms when I feel emotions, any type of emotion. So ever since I was little, like I was almost been like trained to like notice something, see what it feels like in my body, and kind of figure out what to do from there. Then I enter photography. Now I was able to have an actual vehicle to make it tangible. So when I started weddings, it's so easy to like look to what is going to book and what you want to client please, because like I'm also a mother of two. I'm not married. So I need to make money. So it was really easy to like just go autopilot, status quo, that type of stuff. So my son's dad, we are no longer together, but I taught him photography, and so he was my second shooter for 2 years, 3 years, and he a natural gift. Just he's an amazing photographer, but with him being a second shooter and I'm the lead shooter, he was able to be really creative and learn his creativity. And so he realized, and then so how me and him met, he was one of my models. And so we would do creative projects together. So he knew I had a very creative brain. And so when he would see me at weddings and he's like, you're on autopilot, like step out of the box today. Like I know you want your essentials, but you I know you could do more. And I'm like, all right, shit. um, so yeah, so he would really push me, yeah, to kind of like, he's like, if you want me to focus on this and you focus on something like, the secondary stuff, so you could kind of step out of the box, I'll totally do that. So we worked well together in that regard. And so then I was kind of practicing that. I was doing that each wedding. I still couldn't really change my style completely because I had weddings booked for a certain look, and especially my editing. So COVID happened. And so I had like 20 weddings for 2020. Obviously, could not do any of them. I did three of them. And then within that year, though, too, I had my son, end of 2019. So I had a newborn and that I got to be home with all year. And I didn't have a lot of weddings. I didn't do family photography. So I obviously needed to exercise my creative muscle. So I did a lot of concept shoots. I just wrote down anything that like, made me feel really moved, whether it's like a line in a song, a lyric in a song, or something I noticed people watching. I tried to get all my photography inspiration from not photography, because when I look at photography for inspiration, I feel like crap. I feel awful. I feel bogged down.
I mean, we love a photography world, but you go in that zone and you go like, wow, I'm a shit. I'm shit.
Right? And you don't want to be like that. And it's I could appreciate a really good photo, but it's your medium that you're specialized in. So it's feels almost impossible to not compare. Even if you're like full on like, oh my God, this is amazing, like commenting on it, sharing it, like, oh my God, but like there's something inside you that's kind of like not like, well, why can't you be that?
Where do you take inspiration? Where is your main source of refreshing? And it doesn't have to be photographer. You can tell me anything you want.
I think the most inspiration I've gotten has been through music, lyrics, or instrumental of how it makes me feel in my body, um, and poetry. Um, that's probably the first, and then the second would be paintings. Obviously, I love paintings, like that type of art. Um,
I have a question. I have a question. This is very interesting for me to ask you. So, like most of the people, photographers, we take inspiration from paintings, things we see, Pinterest, blah blah blah. You from lyrics, so it's not something that you visualize. You feel it, and it feels. It turns into something inside you. I'm so curious. Visuals.
I have synesthesia. Do you know what synesthesia is? So it's like everyone's synesthesia is pretty different. So like sometimes people could taste a color. Some people can hear a number, like that type of just like different, like the senses get crossed. So as I'm a dancer, so actually when I listen to music, the melody, the music part, not the lyrics, doesn't have to be the lyrics. Or it could be how the voice sounds. It doesn't have to be what they're saying, it's just how the voice sounds with the music. I see shapes. And since I'm a former dancer, I see I'm able to make the shapes into human bodies. So it's easy for me to kind of think of a dance basically as I'm hearing songs, which is not really anything uncommon. Every dancer does that, but it I it makes me kind of go into this trance. So a lot of the time, sometimes I'll microdose some mushrooms and sit in the sun and play music on, close my eyes because the sun in my eyes, but I'm closing them and I'm, happily on mushrooms. Um, I'm able to like see like the sun is allowing me to have the shapes physically like in my eyes as I'm closed my eyes. So that helps a lot. It's not my main source at all, obviously. Watching dancers helps me too because it's just something that you'll never ever think of posing someone as a photographer. Um, and so I try to, so not every or not every client is a dancer, if any, if I've ever had any. I had like maybe like one person's a dancer, but the other person's not. So I've had to figure out like how do I create that dancer space for non-dancers and not it being intimidating or aggressive or something that they're like not going to do that. I think I've been pretty open as a brand, humanizing my brand enough that people know I'm a dancer. It's very heavily influenced. You look at my work and it's there. Not everyone's a dancer on there. So I just have to try to create that container um, where they could move freely as a couple in their essence because I don't know that. I don't know their mannerisms. I don't know their micro touches. But what I can do is create that container where they could have that freedom to bring that in and also my guidance so they have something an objective to accomplish. So it's that collaborative. So it's that collaborative dance, basically.
Yes. Can you tell if clients are able to get into the zone in advance?
Um, I try so hard pre-planning. Just I probably talk their ear off as much as I can, depending on what their vision is. I have that. So I know people make mood boards for the clients. Actually, I have my clients make mood boards for me because it's really not often, especially if they're not, visual people or artist couple, where they don't know they have that visual, but they don't know how to explain it vocally. So when I have them make me a mood board, I could find the patterns and themes and create. I'm like, okay, so what I'm seeing from your mood board is this scene is this scene is that, this scene is that. And so once we start building from there, I'm vocalizing how a session is going to be ran. I don't want there to be any surprises because that's just only going to make my job harder. Um, and I think we become and I think we become desensitized as photographers because we do this once, twice, three times a week, working with couples, working with families, that we just kind of don't think to prep them beforehand because we're so desensitized to it that we just kind of expect. Well, I think that's when people say like I want my ideal client, which I hate that term so much. I want I get couples like that for me, but it's like, are you creating that container for them? You can't just hope out of all these billions of humans and these couples that that one person or that one couple is going to just come out of the woodwork and like, hello, I'm here, I am. You have to create it because I mean, it's natural for me because I'm a dancer. So I don't know how not to use it. So that's why it's there. But if it's a non-dancer and you don't think that way, I don't know how you can communicate that.
Absolutely. Like that totally makes sense. And I also love that they send over mood boards because some photographers they go pissy when clients send like what they like and they go like, "Oh no, that's not me. That's not my style." Instead of taking it and make your job easier, make my job easier because I go like, "Okay, that's the vibe that you want and I make my own."
Yeah. Yeah. And I give them examples if they're like, I'm not understanding what you're asking of me. And I'm also communicating when I ask for their mood board, I make sure they know this is not for posing. This is not like a Pinterest copy board. This is just it doesn't even have to be photos of people. It doesn't there's so I just try to make that clear. I'm like, this is just pure essence. I'm just trying to get to know,
So what it can be flowers, it can be painting, it can be landscape, clothes.
especially like a flower photo, flower painting paired with another type of so it could either be like the same flower painting, and imagine that paired with like a really foggy, ominous photo. All right. So that's telling me that this session is going to be this way. So pair this one with photo of an ocean, sparkly water. That's going to be a completely different.
Wow. Now you open my mind to such a different and different way to think about. Like it's not necessarily a photo that is have to inspire you, especially a photo of another photographer in the industry. So what if the clients look at this? Like it can, if I can see this painting is like foggy atmosphere vibe. So in this case, like you go and suggest them where to photograph based on the mood board. You let them decide. What do you do?
It's always collaborative, but so it's like, I think a lot of people like, all right, we booked our client. Now we talk about location and wardrobe. And that's usually it from what I've heard from most people. That's how I used to do it too. But now with the they booked you, now I'm asking for the mood board right off the bat. We're not talking about locations. We're not talking about clothing. We're talking about essence first. And then from there, from what I like in Chicago, I'm like, okay, well, if it's like a foggy, this type of moody thing, okay, like we could do it's kind of hard because you can't really
I'm challenge you here.
force the weather, so like all right, like I know it's more likely to be foggy in the morning, and there's probably usually fog on the lake, so like let's maybe go to the lake, and I know there's a lighthouse here, so let's just go here to create that mood.
Oh, you do indoors too, right? Indoors, like your indoors are so beautiful. Like the way how you manage the light, it gives me these painting vibes that I grew up with. Yeah, you're Italian. Like I don't care what you say, you are Italian. I decide.
But yeah, so that's how I kind of guide the couples into that. And there are couples where they know what they want, and they'll hit me on the phone and like, all right, this is, and like, I just did one, and oh God, I love the gallery. There's four scenes in there, and it was the husband that reached out to me because it was going to that day that the day of the session was going to be when she knows about the session. So I was only communicating with him. They have um a hair makeup. I mean, I don't know if they did a hair makeup artist and friend, and then they had a stylist friend. Like they all had like a group of friends that had these elements. So I was talking to the husband, their friends that were hairstylists, and stylist for clothes. So I was able to talk to them about it. I don't think we even had a mood board at all for that. No, we never had a mood board. I heard him, what their story was, what their stage in their life is in this marriage, what's happening. Is a transitory um, moment in their life together because they're moving to California, and he knew there was he had very vague ideas, and I was able to kind of piece them together, and then I structured them into scenes. So that helps my brain a lot. So I structured them like, okay, like for this idea, what you're talking to me, that we're going to represent that in this type of scene. Like I know he wanted something really intimate he wanted something really intimate. He wanted something that felt like Chicago, but not like touristy. He had a spot that they stayed the night at that has a cool tub. He had that, and then they wanted to get pizza afterwards. So like,
Different scene, oh, very different scene, and that's the hard part is that you have to be able to capture like from the same photography perspective, like without being like a is you want to capture in a way that is the same story of the day, even if it's intimate to the pizza. How did you do that?
Well, I mean, think of a movie. Not every not the movie doesn't have one note to the movie. Sometimes there is one note, and like it's one of those like people find it boring, or there was like no like exciting thing. But it was just kind of like it's like a lot of like the art film um, films are kind of like that. But what was the metaphor? Different metaphors. What was the lesson? So that's where you find that those different notes, that texture. So, but just like in general, so a movie always will have some sort of texture, some sort of note, or even how you eat food. You go to like a beautiful restaurant, the chef is going to create a dish that has all these notes to it, all these flavor components, all these dimensions. So I want to do that with my sessions. They're not identical. They're probably not even, they don't make sense. They're probably even contradictions to each other, which I'm saying contradictions because I don't know if you know Ryan Muirhead. He's like one of my favorite photographers, favorite educators, and he talks about contradictions all the time. But yeah, and it's so funny when you find contradictions in your work because they make sense. So it's like all these dualities that they don't actually, looking at them separately, they don't make sense. But at them from the start to the finish, there's a textured story there.
That's such a unique way to tell a story. Like, wow, you opening my eyes into something new, which I feel like I need, because we're going through so many up and downs, and artists and photographers and burnout. Do you ever have any burnout? It happens to you?
Oh my gosh, I just am out this year in June. I came out. I literally felt like of a 2 year, 2.5 year burnout. So from 2020, I guess was it me? Yeah, half a year. Yeah, or maybe 2 years. I don't know. So it was like 2022 February March until June 2023. So not as it's not exactly it's not 2 years, but yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about how what happened, or whatever you feel like to share, and how you overcome this? Because um, I've been through this thing, and other photographers I know they are, and I think it's very good for photographers to listen, that make them feel like we are not alone, like we all have these up and downs moments, and you are such an artist. Please tell us how whatever you feel like to say, whatever you feel like it can help for a person, for a photographer that is going through this same of things, these things.
So the thing with burnout is that it doesn't always have to be because of photography or your business. Um, so it could just be emotional burnout from everything that's happened with life. So 2022 February March, that's when I left my son's dad. It was just we weren't healthy for each other, so it was very volatile situation. So I got out, and it was a 5 year relationship, and so I had PTSD, exhaustion, for the whole year. Um, just and so that affected my motivation to work. It affected how I saw work because, like I said, he was my main second shooter. He was a lot. He brought on a lot of creativity for me. So I was also battling self worth, um, because since he pushed me into this creative space, it felt, and I feel like if I talk to him now about it, he probably wouldn't feel this way. But like from what my experience was with him, it felt like he felt entitled to it. Um, because that's when I started becoming, that's when people wanted to hear what I had to say about the art that I was putting out. And so there was that rupture, because he felt like, well, I'm the one that pushed you to this. go, you know? So, and I get it. We were pretty competitive and jealous of each other. So once we severed,
Because there are two artists in the business. It was not like one was more business or you like you were doing different things. You were doing the same things. Like you're two artists, creative person. That's so interesting.
yeah, and while it was so powerful and so like I created my best work with him, it was emotionally and spiritually and mentally just something I couldn't sustain anymore. So when I severed those ties, or broke those ties, it took a long, long time for me to feel worthy in that education space where I'm like, is it truly me? Or, did he play a huge part in it and I just don't, I'm not worthy of being the one to talk about it. But easily, you could have those conversations with yourself, and I try not to push any of those type of negative self-talk away. I try to listen to it. What is it telling me? What's the lesson that we're trying to accomplish here? And it came to a point where I'm like, yeah, he influenced me in a lot of great creative ways, but so did this artist, and so did this artist, and so did this artist, but no one could teach me my artist core. So that's what kind of helped me out of that, just so I could create, not even create works. I haven't really even done any creative projects since then because of I've been so in burnout, and I just haven't had time to do any creative projects. But it got me through client work. It got me through the year of weddings and travel without him. And so then in August of 2022, while I was still in this, I was very still like it took so much for me to even edit a session. It was so hard, like just day in day out. I was doing bare minimum. So then I met my partner that I have now, Daniel, and while that was very exciting and like, oh my gosh, you're teaching me safety, you're teaching me how I've always wanted to be loved, it was very, very healing, but it was also very, very scary. And it took it still took some capacity out of me to get out of that burnout. So now I'm trying to heal from this one other thing. And so luckily he's been a very patient and healing person for me. So it was like, yeah, I got, actually it manifested into a physical illness of what I was dealing with since I broke up with my son's dad. Because of all the PTSD and the stress, I was sick for the whole month of March 2023. Like tests of every sort done, figuring out if I have autoimmune disease and all that. We still haven't figured it out, but I had like a flare of some sort. So all this ick was manifesting out. And so March that happened, April I was starting to come back into being healthy physically, and then June I was completely out of it. It was like felt like one day I was like awake, and I actually felt awake because that whole year and a half I felt I was like driving my kids to school or talking to clients, and it felt like I was just like in this bubble. Like I'm like, it's almost like I had to like keep slapping myself to like get myself awake.
Yeah, really, like such a strong woman. Like plus to you to overcome this, and I'm sure now you feel like even stronger. Like you can conquer yourself. You could go easily down to a bad road. Instead of you're here, look at you, beautiful as you are, mom of these two beautiful children, like, and running a successful business. You want me keep on doing how many amazing things you are, and you're so young, you're alive, and you can still go to dance if you want one day. I feel like you can do anything you want, really. Absolutely. Be proud of yourself. And uh, talk about it because people has been going through a lot of things, and we think about we are alone in that, but like is it's not like this. Like your story, I'm sure, is going to empower so many other photographers that maybe they don't go through the same story, but everybody has unique stories to go through, and You did, like, you make me feel like, wow, I complain because the plane is delayed and I have to wait 3 hours at the airport. Like, seriously, Lily.
Well, you can't dismiss like those, like, those are very real human frustrations. I get frustrated. I could have a huge blow up about this one little thing when I kept my cool over this really serious thing. So it's so hard to gauge. It's just like it just a pile up of all the stories that you've had to carry for all these years, and uh, whether it's a plane delay or something very life changing, it plays a significant part in how you see the world.
So with these things, I want to give you one more question, because this hour together already fly. Like, I need 5 hours podcast with the people. What's next? What do you think is coming? What are you working on it? If there is any personal project, new photography things, presets.
Yes, I have my presets coming up. My 30th birthday, which is February 20th, is the second set.
Fantastic. What are you doing?
So this weekend on the 9th, my partner Daniel has something surprise for us. I don't know.
Okay, February 20th. Are you excited?
I'm super excited. I have they were supposed to be launched in November, but I could just have not been 100% on them. So they're definitely a labor of love. Yeah, they're definitely a labor of love. I sent them over to the Unraveled Academy. That's who hosts them. I sent them like the final version yesterday. I'm like, just take it.
The beauty of preset is that it is a starting point from everybody are listening. Don't expect that you buy preset and like, oh wow, perfect. You have tweak it and you have to make it your own. I always say, like, sometimes are yellow, make it people complain, "Oh, this is too yellow." Make it more blue, like add more green, or like, you know, as a starting point. But your preset, I'm curious to see because they're good.
Thank you. I'm very excited for this set. But yeah, for this year, I'm doing a lot of travel and a lot of workshops, which is good. I just wanted it's more so for my practice and getting used to speaking, because it doesn't come easily for me, especially like talks and conferences and stuff. I want to practice, trying to just do it more, but I think but I've just talking to some friends, and I'm like, I think I need to get back, because I'm not really doing many weddings this year, and I not seeing the compensation of, like, because workshops don't pay as much as weddings and all that type of stuff. So I'm trying to, like, okay, well, I do have a family I need to provide for, so I need to probably start focusing on weddings again. I was just thinking today, I'm like, I need to make a post about weddings. So every time I make a post, I get an inquiry. So I probably should do that. Um,
But it's good that you start to put your feet inside the workshop, because I feel like you have such a unique way to see, and like, everything you share today is just pure gold. And don't worry about speaking in public. Nobody feel confident. I love speaking, but when and I'm following courses, like, nowadays there is course for everything, and I'm following course about how to give a public speaking in US. Is American. I'll send this course because nobody born ready for that.
yeah, it's very, very, very a daunting task. But another big thing I need to do, and Noella, Noella, really is pushing me to do a lot of online educational resources. And a lot of people have asked me, like, any like PDFs and courses that I just haven't, and I need to just. I think I'm thinking too much of it, because I want everything to be everything I put out just so perfect, everything mind blowing and stuff. But sometimes it just needs to be basic. Sometimes it just needs to be something like a beginner needs to hear, or someone who's been doing this for so long just go to ground themselves and all that. So I'm gonna try to utilize that passive income as well. So
Do it. Do it and delegate whenever you can. And I tell you these things. I see so many photographers, not too many photographers, but young photographers that I feel they are much fearless than us, put out content, doing courses, like, without want to be perfect, and me and Vic made the same mistake. Like, we want to create this perfect course, blah 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 blah. We spend 2 years for one course. It's too much. Like, let it go. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be good and valuable, but not perfect. It's all inside our mind,
I know that's something I'm trying to.
Do it, and ask for help, because you are a photographer, you are a mom, and you have a partner, you have your life, so you can do things alone.
Yeah, no, I need the village.
The village. I love that. Okay, thank you so much for this conversation and for virtual meeting you. Please make sure that you're coming to Italy for a wedding or holiday. I would love to meet you in person at some point. And ciao, Bella. Thank you so much.